Coming up on Stories from Grandpa Sam.
Chief in every location
was
had a quarter of people to supply
to
the British.
Watawambia mvua huu mtu unakaa kule
Kangumu.
You are a man, you are supposed to be tough. It was an arranged marriage. This issue of love, nini, is a now modern thing. We have accepted it. Recently. There was the other alternative of marriage, abduction. You ambush the girl and you carry her away. These ancestors were named after the kid. They become like in Christianity, they are guardian angels for the kid. What is going to name? It must be before sunrise. I carry his stool with the chicken. We know if it's a boy, it will be a cock. Mm-hmm. If it's a girl, it will be a hen. That is the only time when they arrive, your father arrives at your doorstep, because he's not supposed to be hovering around there as your father.
Welcome to this second episode of Stories from Grandpa podcast series, where Grandpa Sam is discussing and sharing with us his exciting stories as he has lived them through his life from the 50s to the moment, as well as taking us back as in time to share some of the things and stories he was told by his father, by his grandfather, and his other relatives that surrounded in his clan. I remind again, this podcast and episode is proudly sponsored by Power IT Solutions, the cloud solutions provider for Africa. So Grandpa Sam, in the last episode, we were looking at and introducing the whole podcast. You are telling us why you are doing this, and you shared why it's important to pass these stories, these histories to the younger generation. So I want us to actually take the same direction, and this time you share with us stories that were passed on to you by your other ancestors and generations. Sounds good?
That's okay. Thank you very much, Oscar.
Yeah.
This time, possibly my takeoff point is first. I would like to talk a little about where I come from. Yes,
and that's in Busia.
In Busia, either for the Luyas or the Tesos, there is the family. Mm-hmm. The family, there is the clan. And around the clan, these are people who can trace.
So a clan is a group of families.
It's a group of families,
okay,
which can claim they come from one ancestral. Yeah. So for me, I'm Overe by clan. A man, Avavere is the normal clan name. As a man, I'm Omovere. The lady will be known as Nevere. Yes. So in that structure, you had the grandfathers, the uncles, the cousins, the brothers, the sisters, and so forth. And that became the unit. And in a village, you could find several clans actually came to live together.
Okay.
Because during that period, before the Mzungu came with his laws and so forth, security as an organizing settlement pattern, security was so critical. So several families, either from one clan or from sub-clans or from a group, will come to live together in a settlement.
So there was a settlement of different clans in the same place?
Homesteads. They could be one clan, or they could be
multiple clans.
Mixed. People mixed. So for them, it was the Olukoba. Likunda. Likunda was the settlement. The Likunda, even when people have moved out of that, they are migrated like today, they still refer that as Likunda.
Which is the ancestral.
Likunda Lief, our ancestral home. But they had in the middle the Lukoba. The Lukoba was simply a space with a trench around it.
A trench for fortification, I assume.
So that's why you drive the animals inside there. The land separated by the animals in the night. That's why they are kept. And then the homesteads look outside, facing the enemy when it's coming.
So That's very exciting, Grandpa Sam. And I assume these kind of living arrangements and setup, they had very good meaning and understanding from from generation to generation past. Why they has to be built like that.
Yes, that was definite.
Why is the primary one you can remember?
Why?
Why was the building structured like that in terms of coalescing of clans living together?
It was security. The big issue was the asset was the animals. The crops, somebody coming to harvest will take time. But for livestock, they will be driven away. So you protected that one. Yes, you protected them, and you have seen it's a certain version of the Manyata or whatever of the Maasai, but they had it in the middle. By the time I was growing up, security was now no longer an issue, and people were now knew that you must have your own, you must have your own land, your own parcel. People now started dispersing. That's why the look over has gone. And it's the focus. When you hear about Congo, an elder at present in Western Kenya, the Muguru, or the Lugongo, is having. That was how it came about. He was the administrator. He formed a group, and he was the one who was the most senior in that place, the Guru. But so, now the British came and adopted that as a village elder. Yes.
Now you start talking about the administration. So the colonialists or the British came and adopted our existing administration structure of the Rikuru.
Yes.
And started building on top of it by adding other administration units.
Other administration units. The assistant chief, the chief. Generally, the DO was the Mzungu. But the chiefs, and that's why in that area the chief is always is a civil servant, but it's not moved around. He remains in one area because he's a local
administrator. Okay.
That's where we have come from, and that's why you find the chief or the deputy chief, when they are advertising for a position of assistant chief, they say you must be a resident of that area. Yes.
Okay. So let's now go back to in time, as we say. This theme of this episode is to try to go back in time and understand. You're telling us exciting stories, but we also want to know some of the exciting stories you are told. We hear about and read about these stories of these heroics of like Luanda Magere in other cultures, the Greek mythology of all these people, but we don't get to hear a lot about our own stories, ancestral conquests, as well as mythological stories.
You see, that is true. What I would like to say is that for people, they were not at that time as conquerors. There were people defending their own community. So you had
this is the Marachi, your people.
The Marachi. But these people, when they are moving as a clan, when they are moving as a clan, they had always a clan leader, and the mythology is found around that one there. So when you hear of Avavere, for example, the Avavere clan, they will speak of the other name is Wangono. Wangono, they will tell you this Ngono was actually a Maasai from Sirikwa. As I was saying, each clan has its own heroes. For example, in mine, we have that mythology or that legend that our ancestors had some connections with the Maasai in Sirikwa plains. We don't know how true it is. And the name we always have is Ngono. So for Avavere, sometimes they call themselves Avandba Ngono Mwani. Which they say possibly means Ngeno. Or whatever it is.
And which is sort of Maasai.
Maasai. And you find other clans like Avafofoyo, they're Mareva, they look towards Uganda. That's where they came from. And when you die, whether you are a man or a woman, you are buried your head looking that direction.
Direction where your clan
was originated from. Yes.
Interesting.
So those myths are there. So we have the time, we have all of them, and each clan has its own, where they came from, how long they moved. Yeah, and those people will tell you how they moved. It has been passed over word by word.
So interesting. So in the Marachi and Busia people, existence, there's possibility different clans originated from different
areas.
Then they coalesced there and then
It became Marachi.
Oh, so the language spoken is a common.
Yeah, for most Luyas, the 18 Luya sub-tribes, each one will tell you where they came from. Yeah, okay. The Maragolis will tell you how they came over Lake Victoria. This one here, each group has its own way how they came forward. Yes, you only read that history from Gideon Were, and you'll get full of it. And other people have done research. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
And of course, in the same spirit of understanding what your ancestors passed on to us, your stories and all those. So tell us a little bit about how, crops started coming in.
Possibly if I come to how crops started, my grandfather's group, they can remember very well how the railway arrived in Kisumu.
Oh, yes.
They had that story.
Yes.
They had that story. Then their life started changing.
With the coming of the railway.
Coming of the railway and the British. They now had this new system of chiefs, assistant chiefs. They were told they must contribute because the Wazungus came and on the settlement schemes. They wanted labor. So young men had to sign agreements. Like in Western, they speak of kazi ya lazima. The chiefs captured young men. Then you were taken to the
settlement.
The chiefs headquarter. Then you put your thumb on a piece of paper, and that was known as an agreement, a contract. And you go away for 2 years.
So you committed 2 years of your time. In colonial
you are assigned to a farmer, whether it's in a Kitale, whether it was in Riru.
Wow.
Going all the whole way to Taita Taveta for farming, sisal estates, and so forth.
And that's
why if you borrow from the Luos, there is the term ogrimity. Ogrimity means agreement. You have signed an ogrimity, you must go. And you stay there for 2 years. And remember, there was no communication. Nobody will send you a message that your father died or because you signed
agreement
for
2 years.
For 2 years.
So
that was what, in brief, forced labor.
Because you are not being paid, or you are compelled.
You are paid, but you are not going as a free agent. You are not going out to ask for a job. You are not willing. Then in the same way, when the First World War came, they gave an order, a quota to the chiefs. You must apply this amount of.
So each chief in every location
had
a quota of people to supply.
To
the British.
To the British. In fact, it became also quite interesting. The chief went; those families he hated. That's why he picked the young man.
Yes.
This one, so my grandfathers, that war, the First World War, they fight Vita Jeremiah. Even the children who were born in the First World War, some of them were known as Jeremani.
Not Jeremiah.
Jeremani.
Okay. Jeremani.
So they also named the children who were born that period were known as Jeremani. It's the First World War. And it was forced.
So you said it was called the German War.
The German War, because this time they were fighting Germans around on the boundaries of Kenya and Tanganyika.
So in Kenya and in your home locality, this war was between us and the Germans, because you're fighting the Germans. That's how we
were fighting the Germans. Yes.
And
it was known as Germany. So the same thing came to be repeated now. The age mates of my father now, Second World War, still the same process. People are going by forced labor. There are no volunteers. And this time, it required Italy, Italian War. Because that time the Germans were no longer in East Africa.
They had been defeated
and gone to Europe. The Germans were in Ethiopia.
The Italians.
The Italians were in Ethiopia.
Yes.
Trying to recolonize Ethiopia. And from what my grandfather told me, those guys told me, the Italians had already reached past Marsabit.
In Kenya.
In Kenya. and they were bombing Isiolo and Nanyuki.
Wow.
So these people were recruited, and then now when they went to Ethiopia, to
defend the
northern
part of
Kenya, they moved to Abyssinia, which for them was Ethiopia. They moved to Egypt, which for them is Misri. Then they went to Palestine. Then the East African, plus Southern African natives, they're visited to Burma. So most of them will say, I fought in the Burma during the Italian war.
And
so it's the Italians they remember.
So they were closer to them.
So when you are speaking of Second World War from textbooks, that was Germany, I was going to kuambia pana.
Italian.
It was Italian. But it was all forced labor. Yeah. And that forced labor went on for a long time all over Kenya. And that was one of the things when Africans were fighting for independence. That forced labor. Working in a Kericho, working in a Kitale, cutting in Wiru, all those places at the coast. Yeah. These people are not willing. Yeah. But later when money economy came, they now started moving
into the urban centers now.
The urban centers.
So this movement and this mobility of
labor now.
Of labor now from the rural,
male. It was mostly
male.
Yeah.
From rural to urban centers.
It was actually rural to rural areas. The urban centers were small, then also to.
So there were other people moving from one village to another, or one locality to another.
From the highlands to the Nyandarwas. Nyandarwa those were rural areas. There were no towns there. Yes. When you moved to
the incentive was for the labor that was paid.
Yeah, it was paid.
Okay. Let's still get back. I think we are getting ahead of ourselves and already getting into World War and all that. But we are forgetting the reason why this episode is very important. Going way back to understand some of the stories from our ancestors. We talked about the mythological stories of your clan and all those things. But I'm sure there are other concepts and stories and learnings that were passed on orally or just observed. You know, for instance, as a boy, you were supposed to do like this. It was expected of you as a young girl, as a young woman, you know, those kind of learnings that were coming out from that ancestral historical. Yeah.
So it was quite a very interesting phenomena that community family set up. For the boy, when you reached like 5-6 years, you now left literally being near your mother. You moved to be the
father side
and the male side. Yes, the female, the girls remain with their mothers and grandmothers, and each group was now being educated differently for your roles in life. And for a boy, you will be taught how to look after animals, how to go grazing animals, all those. So you stayed outside, and in the evening you sat around. When the elders were speaking, the young boy, you kept quiet and you listened. What they told you, how to look after animals. For example, it was understood if you are going to graze cattle, ukienda umeenda, mvua ikinyesha au urudi utarudi saa jioni watamwambia mvua huu mtu anakaa kule
kangumu.
You are a man, you are supposed to be tough.
Wow. Whether it rain, whether it what, stay.
Yeah, and of course as a boy you are told before you cross a river,
put a stick.
You don't cross a river by seeing this river here. It has so many other things in that river. So you must always have a stick. Any stone you see, you hit it. Otherwise, it will be a crocodile waiting for you to step on it and you go.
Yes.
And before your animals cross, you go ahead to make sure that it's cleared.
So wait, animals needed safer passage than the boy needed safer passage.
You are going to cross a river.
Yes.
First you leave, you go and check. Find it's clear.
Yes.
Some boys move ahead. Whether with the stones or with the sticks, you hit that water. You find a stone, you hit, is it a real stone? Or is it not a crocodile? Yeah. So when the animals make noise, they will give you a sign there is a wild animal here. And as a boy, you are trained. If there is a leopard, you don't run away. Because the animals depend on you. Even as a small boy, you stand.
Still.
You stand still between the animals and the wild animal.
Oof.
And for a leopard, I saw it in experience. When it finds you have stopped, it walks away.
Ooh.
But if you left the animals to look tick,
and you'll have a case to answer.
yeah, and you are trained to that. That is what the training for a boy. Or you get a python, it falls on you. Don't panic. Stay. If you have a knife, cut its tail. If the alternative is chewing its tail, chew it. And go. You don't make your hands wide. Those are lessons you are being trained.
Wow.
So that goes for the animals.
So that was the equivalent of first aid lesson.
Yeah. You are taking responsibility.
Yeah.
And that was survival. This was survival tactics.
Yeah, true. Yes.
Yeah. Before you come to the crops, that is the livestock. For the boy, this is where they start with you and so forth. Yeah. And throughout your life, that is your life. All through. Now you become circumcised. Now you get away from the ladies completely. You are now keeping the men's group. Yeah. You are trained how to survive in life. That is your career. Yes.
Okay. So let's go a little bit and figure out how your people lived, what they ate, and even things like medicine before the colonial era. I'm sure people have their own way of treating each other, of getting about. What stories
so
do you...
there are certain there are two different aspects of that aspect of medicine. There are those who are purely magician. Sometimes they also covered herbs. Then there are just people who practice herbal medicine. Yes.
Doctors now.
The magician also was a herbalist. Was a more senior. But this one can interpret issues, spirits. Spirits. If there is an issue, they can interpret what is coming. They can carry out rituals. You slaughter a goat or a sheep to appease the ancestors. They are a way of communicating with the ancestors. Those are the seers and what have you. But the herbalist depended on natural ingredients. They could be crops, they could be parts of animals, it could be even soil or rock. When you are sick, they know what exactly to come and do and treat you. But sometimes they overlapped. And these people who are very important, they are the doctors before the medicine came.
The modern medicine.
For the ladies, they are even the birth attendants. Not every lady was a birth attendant. So those who know again that experience, the birth attendants, if a lady had difficulty labor, there were mothers which help to bring for the expectant mother, so that her labor becomes reduced. Yes.
Bearable.
Yeah. And of course, for ladies, I can speak. They started treating this lady the moment they becomes expectant. From the moment they go, they attend to her.
There are things they would make sure they're having.
They're massaging her and doing well, so that when you reach the critical moment, yeah.
Wow.
But for kids was a very big risk. For pregnancy, for giving birth, and even for small children, dying mortality was very high. Until the new medicine came. Yes. Remember, they not have vaccinations.
Yeah.
Yes. Ladies were at a very big risk, especially during childbirth. It was a very risky affair. Yeah. But we had those people who are wise. But still, in that community, you still had guys who are just white, who are versed in the culture. What I'm talking like today, the culture of the community. They are guiders. They will be consulted. Yes. If there are issues like marriage, those are the guys who will go to negotiate. Yeah.
And also settle disputes.
Settle disputes. Yeah, those groups were there. Yes.
Speaking of disputes, did you ever get told about stories of war between your clans, your neighbors? We hear about the Nandis fighting with the Luos, the Magere and all that. Were there any...
where I was, we're not at the border We're not at the border. The nearest were Tesos, but Tesos and Luyas are now merged together. So it was not that tribal, but there was still family feuds. You could come, like young men were fighting, they have killed somebody. They have killed somebody. You don't kill somebody from another clan or from another family. Those guys will come, take their weapons of war, arrive. The families must balance.
So you kill ours, we have to kill yours.
They come and pick now even a better guy from that clan to clear.
So if you kill ours, you'll get your best one.
Yeah,
from your clan or from your family?
From your family. They must. That was the control. You didn't go on joking, killing anybody. That was the worst crime they ever considered. Leave alone of this one of stealing somebody's cattle, stealing somebody's crops, or that. That was the worst. You don't go on hitting somebody, even having somebody drawing blood. The other group will come. Remember that? Yeah, they will come.
They have to pay in kind.
Yeah,
or in
unless
better.
you rush early
And negotiate.
Then they will convert that one in the number of
Cattle.
But if they're left on their own, when they arrive, they burn every crops, what they drive away the animal. And any man who is around there, they didn't touch on women. Women and children, no.
Just men.
Men.
And boys.
And boys. And they will pick for, if that guy was so useless, they will pick you your best guy. But generally, the elders were there. When they moved early, they would sort it out, peace talks. They will even share meals now with the drinks. Then they will appease. They will bring the seers to appease the spirits. Yeah, I used to see that one.
You saw those
at that level. Yes, but I did not see this tribal one because where I was, it was always these groups knew each other. Even if they were distant, like 4 or 5 miles and so forth, these guys were moving along in the forest. They meet somebody and they kill a bus.
Kwisha.
That was a deterrent. Social control.
Yes,
that was a social control. You didn't go on just causing, messing up. Yes.
And some other interesting, you've talked about.
And that's why, like, if I may, that's why this term in Luya Mlembe.
Peace.
Peace. It's a greeting.
And a declaration.
A declaration.
When
you are meeting with somebody, when people are coming, you say, we have come with the Mlembe.
We've come with peace.
With the peace. Then again, you shake hands to formalize that one.
So once you shake hands, you've declared peace?
Yeah. If you say Mlembe and the other group does not say Mlembe, it means something is wrong.
So watch out.
Watch out.
So the Mlembe nation is a peaceful nation. When you hear people say
peace,
that.
Peace. You must tell everybody, even when you are moving on the road, you must tell somebody Mlembe, and replies Mlembe Muno. If that person does not reply, Mkombana.
Or be wary where you're walking.
Be aware. Even at night, you say somebody Mlembe, you must answer Mlembe and you know his voice.
That is a declaration. He's not dangerous to you.
Yeah.
But if he does not answer?
If he tells you Mlembe and he harms you, that's actionable now. You must have not said Mlembe.
Interesting.
You must have kept quiet.
Very interesting.
Yes. So those are some of the lessons I learned from my ancestors.
Can you just help us understand this concept of dowry, especially from... There are lots of Luya and the Marachi and which belong to it, have very elaborate cultures around very common things like marriage, dowry, death, naming of children.
So like today, there are so many of those ones there. It's a long story. For example, for marriage, it was arranged. It was an arranged marriage. This issue of love, nini, is a now modern thing. We have accepted it.
Recently.
There will always a go-between, Wanjira.
That's a name.
That's the title of that person, Wanjira. Wanjira means Injira, somebody who has prepared the road. And that was a big responsibility. You didn't take that responsibility to arrange the marriage between this boy and this guy. It's your lifelong responsibility. You only have problems, the Wanjira.
Who was the Wanjira?
Who was the Wanjira? So the Wanjira will connect this family with the other family. In a good number of cases, the guy even did not know who the man is. Who the man is. Now I'm speaking of the day of my grandfather. He didn't know. So the father of the boy will come and say, we're the ones, and so forth. You didn't go, a girl who became, who got pregnant before marriage. That was a big issue.
Wow.
Yeah, he could go as a third wife, fourth wife.
He was no longer first priority.
No, he was a damaged goods. So when they come, they will introduce themselves and so forth. This other group, if they don't know that clan or that family, they will apprehend. Are they night runners? They what? All those people with those funny melodies.
You know, you'll have to explain a little bit the concept of night runners, but carry on.
If you're a night runner, those people will not like to have those type of genes that go between. It was a big responsibility. He's bringing this together, the families. He's taking the responsibility to say these are good families. And if they've come here, they are able to establish a good relationship. Then in the Luyas, it differed from each community. There are a group where you took all the dowry up front as you go. As you go. The other group, they keep on bringing a little by little. For those other communities where they wanted a little by little, if they get some information before the marriage is consummated, then they can stop there.
Pull out.
Ooh. And they were worried, why is this family just bringing so many cattle at a go? They have something. They
must be hiding something so we don't see.
Are they thieves or what? Are they magicians?
Or night runners, as you say.
Night runners, yes. So, wizards. Are they wizards? So when they bring that way, then there was a traditional wedding. In Marachi, it was known as a Sidialo, where the boy carries this group. Today you see it in Kikuyu, Ngurario. These people go as a group, carried everything. When they go there, that's the final marriage ceremony, when they discuss everything. Then the girl will be accompanied by the girls, escorted by her brothers to her new home. Yeah. But in a case where this other family cannot afford, because that was elaborate and you must pay as many cattle as possible. If you are not, there was the other alternative for marriage, abduction. You ambush the girl and you carry her away. As long as her brothers
cannot get to you.
If you are doing that to their sister, you have a problem. Their brothers will fight.
So you better be able to run.
Your group must be very, very nice and strong and ambush the girl. And when the girl, whatever type of marriage is going, the girl should not show that he really wants to marry.
Oh.
Yeah.
So he needs to act like...
Even that's why in the wedding, like today they do the weddings, the girl walks slowly. And when he reaches even the threshold, he stops and he is pushed. Because we'll say, why is this guy, why are you running away from your home? What's wrong with you?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're not, there's something wrong with you.
What's wrong with you?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
But now it changed, especially after the Second World War, when money currency came into place. People are coming from the army, they care. You will have people who that came from the Second World War and that's care.
That currency with a hole in it.
Yeah, they had money. So now it's the agreement. There was an agreement, and this time the girl was now brought much earlier. After the parents have gone and seen the home and so forth, and before they start paying dowry, now the boy, you go with other boys, with Wanjira going with you, and the girl is there. And the girl will be asked, is this the type of
Man,
you would like to marry, can say no.
that's it.
Yeah. If a boy, he was suspicious. If a boy went with shoes, he must take off the shoes. He could be a girl without
Jiggers.
with jiggers or without clothes. So this time, mapatano. It's known as mapatano. So this time, now as a boy, you have a small token in form of money. You give to the girl. If the girl accepts that token, then the elders are now start bringing cattle. Yes.
So that's just about marriage.
Yeah, that's about marriage.
There's the naming of children. There's
The naming of children is interesting in marriage. That's why sometimes you find a boy has a woman's name and so forth. For us, the naming was of the dead ancestors. It's not like, for example, in central Kenya, where they name the living. Now they're naming. Now we're in Western, we're naming the living. If your brother likes you, he calls you my son, yes, and your name. But before, it was ancestral naming. These ancestors were named after the kid. They become like in Christianity, they are guardian angels for the kid. Every time they will, if you're sick, they call, oh, so and so, we named this kid and so forth. So when it's born, when the kid is born, if it's a boy, he will be named man. And the man must have married and had families.
Oh.
Not a guy who was just a crook.
So if you're a bachelor and
No, even if you are a bad man,
no one is
you can refuse. If they say you have gone to the sea and the sea says your cousin so and so is the one who wants to be named, you will say not that one. Not that one. You had the freedom.
And I've had stories around names.
So for the girls, also from the female side. But there are cases where a woman was having a difficult pregnancy. And the sisters will say, they want naming, the Yinguruho. This kid, he wants to be named. Then you could find, they will name the kid, and it will be known. You find, they named the kid a lady's name, because the lady is the one who had come, the spirit of the dead, the woman, but the kid comes out as a boy. That's why you find some men have women names, and vice versa. Yes.
I've heard around the naming concepts from also my own grandfathers and stories like that, where you name a child, then they refuse that name.
Yeah, when they refused that name, it was not, the seer did not do it properly. It causes a problem for the kid becomes sick. They have again to repeat that process.
So they have to keep naming until they
get to that one. And this is how we do it. For me, I used to accompany my grandfather. When he's going to name, it must be before sunrise. I carry his stool with the chicken. We know if it's a boy, it will be a cock. If it's a girl, it will be a hen. That is the only time when they arrive, your father arrives at your doorstep. Because he's not supposed to be hovering around there as your father. As a doorstep, the lady and the boy, if they're there, they come with the baby carrying on their hands. Then the person lays the cuckoo calling, invoking that spirit. After he has finished that, he throws the hen down, you'll find it walks in. But the trick, of course, it was dark. It was what? But ikienda, wanasema it has aborted. The process has aborted. Yeah.
So the concept of naming, let's say.
So now, this one, it was not just anybody. There were certain wazees whom you call uncle or your elder brothers. Like where I've reached, if you don't have uncles, now I can do it for my younger brothers. Okay? You are now playing priestly duty. You are naming, you are baptizing. Yes, you are baptizing. For the Busia one, you'll find it in the book by John Osogo, Abaluya, Ave Mumbo. Miluga, the Mima, Chamaluya, Ave Mumbo. Which makes it a little different. Those ones in Kakamega, Higa, and those ones in Bungoma. Yes.
Fascinating.
Yes.
I think as we wound down, I just want you to get one more take on some of the advancements or changes you witnessed in terms of or you are told about. I'm sure in the previous episode you spoke about how the predominant crop was things like millet, sorghum, and the likes. So how did we come to be eating ugali?
So the thing was, as time now changed, new crops were introduced. For food, maize was brought in because it's easier. It's bulky. You can get it bulky than wimbi, millet, or sorghum. So maize was introduced.
By the colonialists.
It came with the colonialists. Then the other aspect which came was cash crop farming. Like in Busia, like in central Kenya, it was coffee tea. In Busia, as an extension of that culture from Uganda, was cotton. As a cash crop. Now people started getting, you have to pay fees, you have to go for mapatano, you know. It has to be cash now. You have to pay fines, cash. So in addition to young guys who had gone to, who are migrated for cheap labor outside, now cash crops came in. Then they started extension services for animals, injections, cattle dips. This one I saw them coming and so forth. They started bringing hospitals for people and so forth. In the crop farming now, like for example, millet, even maize, there will be a man or a woman scattering it over the shamba, then you covering it. Now it came the issue of planning in the lines. That was by agricultural extension
Officers.
Colonial. And it had to be enforced by law. And of course, we children in school were also taught, on the days of agriculture, you are taught this is what you do. When you go home, your father and your mother must do things like this. Yeah. Going to hospital, now they took out, now hospitals came around. You had to go.
Before we get into hospitals, I'm sure we'll cover the concept of hospitals and other things in other episodes. I want just to wind up this again by thanking you for your amazing stories and for your amazing putting this together to make sure we all have these stories passed on to other generations and all that. My question is, why were our other things not recorded or passed? Things like our ancient medicine, these things you said about seers, how they will intercede for us and all that. Why do you think they're lost? They're getting lost.
They're getting lost because that generation did not record it. They did not pass it over. They did not pass that over as people moved to the Muzungu way of doing things. So we lost. We lost that culture. We lost that asset. Sometimes it's going to be very difficult to get it back. But even where we have to go back, like herbal medicine.
Absolutely.
Ecosystem has completely changed. Those things are not there.
Cannot regrow.
They cannot regrow.
We've destroyed it.
They have simply destroyed them.
Wow.
Yes. Only in Western Kenya, you still get Mugombera. Yes. Which is for appetite and whatever it is. Yes. It's the only one which is still surviving, but it's also endangered.
Yeah, and we know the only reason it survives is
then
because
you see how to capture things like quails, sindu, how to trap termites, siswa. Those things are simply going.
People are wondering, termites or white ants are actually food. You eat them.
Actually
you can eat them raw, or you can actually
fried.
You just get them from the hull and eat them, right?
It's a delicacy.
Yeah, just raw like that.
Yes.
From the hull and eat them.
Yeah.
And
You can eat direct.
And you've eaten them.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much, Grandpa Sam. That winds up our second episode of Stories from Grandpa Sam, and we look forward to seeing you next week for our third installment of Stories from Grandpa.
This episode was brought to you by Power IT, powering your business through cloud technology. Special shout out to Black Sanduku Africa and Photomagic Studios for the production of this episode.